Educational service agency that was created specifically to deal with the hiring, firing, setting the wages, that sort of thing for crossing guards. If you don't have those members, and I'm not aware whether you have them or not.
I don't think
We do have members. Yes,
We had members appointed.
Yes, we have
That
members
were not
appointed.
reappointed this year.
Yes, we do have.
This hasn't been discussed in many,
Yes.
many years, and they
Yes,
have
it
not.
has.
Don't tell us, we did last year.
Okay, where's the
last
minutes?
year.
Show the minutes.
We go find the minutes, they're in that damn room.
They're
Shut
not.
up with the minutes already.
No, they're not.
Public Safety Committee, it's a separate board.
You can't just erase everything because the minutes aren't
They're not
there.
erased. Produce the minutes.
Mr. McLean is speaking, please.
Mr. McLean?
Or a Civil Service Commission, your own ordinance creates a special board or committee
Right.
to deal with the hiring, the firing, setting the terms of the crossing guards. Now, as the Borough Code says, they, just like the police.
Right.
The mayor ultimately has control, you know, the mayor can say, this crossing guard goes to this corner, this crossing guard goes to this corner, that's within his power, but to hire, fire,
Either fire, I can't do that.
it's
No.
with the
You gotta bring it to
educational
council.
service
Never had that
agency.
power.
So if you
Madam
have
President?
an appropriately appointed educational service agency, then I would say the decision goes to them.
We have one. And,
Okay.
and John, I wanted to say, because you said he can tell them when to go with corner, but that is only when they are actively being crossing guards, and that's what it says in the Borough Code. It says the mayor may activate auxiliary police, but our crossing guards are not police. They're
that's
not even
correct.
considered police.
Yeah, they're not members of the police force.
They
I
are
would
not
agree.
members of the police force, so he only has jurisdiction over our crossing guards when they're actually doing their duty. And it says that in the Borough Code.
I agree with that.
So after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever time they come
Go ahead,
on.
Ms. Brown.
he has no authority.
I just wanted to see if the solicitor concurs that although you
That
have, an educational,
And turn it.
please,
And turn it.
okay.
Thank you.
Although you have an educational committee in your borough code, which I think it was started in the 50s, I believe, that section.
We have
The
an active
board has been inactive
No,
for
that's not.
many,
No,
many.
it hasn't.
No, that's not.
Can I please
Miss
finish?
Boone?
Please don't interrupt me.
All right, then we'll bring them.
The board has been active. However, the Pennsylvania State Borough Code, please correct me if I'm wrong, supersedes the Colwyn Borough Code.
Well, the Borough Code, section 127, that deals with school crossing guards, states that the Borough Council may enact an ordinance allowing a board of school directors to assume hiring oversight of the crossing guards. And it goes on, I believe, to provide that the borough may set up this type of board. It's not unusual in our local municipalities around here that this type of agency, and I agree with Ms. Brown, these, I've seen it in several municipalities around the William Penn School District, they call them these educational service agencies. I can't tell you why, I guess that must have been the thing to do in the 60s or whenever. So what I'm saying to you is that, again, right now, your status, my opinion is the status of these individuals was they were originally appropriately appointed by the mayor. In his estimation, it was confirmed last month on a temporary basis. In order to settle the matter, I think that council we can check the records to see if such an educational service agency board members have been appropriately appointed.
They have.
Okay, well, we'll just confirm that for everybody with the records. And, if that's the case, council can decide at that point, do you wish for them to handle it? Or, in the alternative, you can change your ordinance, and return that authority to council if you so choose. So, that's where you are right now. On a temporary basis, those people are appointed.
Mr. McLean, let me say one thing about this, and then that's it. I'm not going to say nothing else about it. I understand that total council, 7 people have the right to hire and fire crossing guards. But, I really don't get involved with crossing guards. And there's 5 people in place, 5 competent people in place. You got the police chief, you got Mayor Blue, you got a public safety director, You got Dot Reed, who's the supervisor of the crossing guards, and you got the borough manager. I think there's 5 competent people that can handle that situation.
It's not in their authority though.
It's
Well,
by the law.
We have the right to hire and fire, but
It's
It's by the law.
Yeah.
You can't change the law, Paul. State law.
I understand, girl.
In emergency, and I wanna ask you,
5 competent people.
solicitor, in the state of emergency, this is what they're talking
gotta
about,
change the law
the
then.
emergency, because it wasn't an emergency to hire crossing guards before school opened. In here, it's been talking about the power of the mayor with unrest. He can hire auxiliary police if he needs them. He can't hire anyone. In the borough code, it tells you he can't hire anyone. In the mayor
Why
manual,
is all of this
I'm
going
talking-
about crossing guards?
I'm talking
I
about,
can't, really, come on.
Now we hired somebody.
We didn't say lay anybody off, we never said that.
Well, it's at 12, how come you got 6?
excuse me, why do I?
Because we didn't have the money for 12. Companies lay off people all the time because they don't have the money to pay them.
You were the finance director.
I can't make people pay their taxes, Paul, including you.
I pay my taxes.
Now you might have, but not before you did, so just be quiet, Paul.
Martha,
Don't start with me.
don't go there.
There, Paul.
Please
Do not
don't
put it in
touch
my
my,
face, Paul, I swear to God.
Shut up.
That's it.
Had a peaceful meeting last week. You would-
If she doesn't take that camera off, I'm
I have to have a record of the meeting, because our camera is in the possession of Mrs. Prey.
And do you have any more public comment?
Mayor
Move
Blue,
on, Madam President.
how many police do we have?
We're supposed to have, what, 6? 6, I believe?
We have 6.
Can I
Yes,
answer?
yeah.
How many, once again, how many?
Yeah, we back to police.
That's all. Tell them things are
Right,
moving
because
on
Mayor, you the
there.
mayor, this is where you wanted to be, so
I
I'm gonna
mean,
ask you a question.
Madam
look,
President?
look.
How many officers do we
We
have?
got 5 or even 6.
How many officers do we have? We don't have 6.
Come on, look.
How many-
Please,
We have
please,
7.
please.
We have 7.
You'd like to have 20, Kim.
Right.
Yeah,
But
we
we
need
got
more
one,
than that.
right, but we
Get
like to
more,
have
we'll
20,
get
but we
more
have
very
some.
soon.
Right, but we can't get more very soon when we got one cop still on payroll that should be on payroll.
Kim?
Hold on.
Okay, I was gonna address you.
We still have him on payroll, Muser. What we gonna do?
That's for council to decide, Ms. Brown.
Yeah.
He's still on payroll. The mayor oversees the police department, correct?
Right.
Okay, what's he doing with the police department? He thinks it's run good, he thinks all officers do a good job.
I think they do.
Right.
I think they're doing good.
I had to call a
I
cop the
think
other night
they're doing excellent.
on the way home.
I really think so.
Let me
I
address
really
the
think so,
situation.
and I think
I
everybody
asked
else
to address
thinks
that.
the same
Let me
thing.
address the
Can
I
situation.
think
I
they're
ask-
doing great.
Excuse
Does
me,
this happen to
excuse
be
me, I
personal?
did ask the president, could I address this?
Go ahead.
With the crossing
Go ahead,
guard.
Jeanette, you can address it.
The reason we went down to 6 crossing guards is because it has,
You're not a police officer.
I know, but I wanted to
Okay.
address that because we went to 11. Yes, we were at 12 when we came in 2008, but 12 wasn't in the budget. It doesn't matter how many crossing guards, I would love to have as many crossing guards as we can.
There you go.
But due to the budget constraints of 2008, we couldn't afford 11 or 12 crossing guards. Matter of fact, it wasn't just the crossing guards that got laid off. There was a layoff across every department where it had employees. And since the budget was done and I don't see where the money was added for the crossing guards that were immediately hired and were going on, so that's an overage in the budget somewhere. And since we didn't get all the money back from the school district, we didn't get the full amount that we should have gotten from the school district, so there's a deficit there too. So that was my answer.
Madam President, can I make a comment?
Yes.
One little short comment. 10% of what Rochelle Bly made, okay, went to them crossing guards. That's where the money came from. 10% of what Rochelle Bly made went to the crossing guards. So we picked up 4 or 5 crossing guards and we laid one person off who wasn't doing anything, and 10% of our salary went to pay them crossing guards. And that's where the money came from. Are we behind on a lot of
I have a
things? Yes,
question.
we are.
No,
But
I have
that's
a
where the money
question.
came from.
Freddie,
It
I-
came out of
Freddie,
people who
Freddie,
should have never been
Freddie.
in this town in the first place.
I have a
And now
question.
y'all wanna sit
I
up
have a
here
question.
and
I have a
holler at
question
us
for you.
new people.
Excuse me, I have
You
a
know,
question
it don't
for
make
you.
no sense.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question for you. I have a question for you. I have a question.
By law, what
I'm
I
just telling you the fact too. I'm just telling you the fact too. It don't make no sense. You sit up here arguing about crossing guards and this board, then that need to be done in this borough. We doing it.
I have a
Y'all just come, you come into me and try to create a problem.
Go ahead.
If you let us do our job, we will do it.
Go ahead.
That's the
I
bottom
have a
line.
question for Freddie while
There
we're
ain't something else to take besides the crossing
Hold
guard.
on, Mike. Go ahead.
My question is, how much did, now,
Don't make sense.
the way it's broken down, we got $23,000 back from the school district. But that was a shortfall, because all we sent them was the salaries. So we put out 100% and we get back half of that. But we don't just get back 50% of the salary, we get much more than that. So if we put out $23,000 for salaries, how much did we put out for workman's comp? That wasn't included. How much did we put out for the payroll taxes that the employer is responsible for? That wasn't included. So when I looked at your budget, the budget for the crossing guards went up to $58,000 in the original budget. So if you have that $58,000, and that was just salaries. So what happened to those other layers? Because that's how we bill it. And it wasn't built like that this year. So you lost money.
Madam
I
President?
think, I'm gonna give it, and
Madam
Allen
President?
Iverson would say, and this is how I feel about the crossing guards, practice. Okay, you know, it's the least amount of money that is paid to anybody in this borough. Okay, even though I got all the crossing guards against me right now, but it's the least amount of money paid to anybody in this borough. And they're out there in the cold, they're out there in the snow, and they all live in the town.
And you want to
And
know
they're
something,
crossing
Freddie?
the kids.
Excuse me, Freddie, can I say, I just want to say this, and then I got nothing to say. And I'm going to say this, I'm not against the crossing guards.
Okay.
I just want them to be paid at the end of the year. You put a crossing guard on there, there's a salary. Now, you saying the Bilal's salary went to the crossing guards, but then you said in January, February, March, and April, the Bilal salary went to the police budget. So, and it shows in the police budget from the budget that you gave us. So you can't keep moving it unless we vote on it. If you move a line item from one
I'm just
thing
giving an
to the
example.
other.
I'm not saying I'm just giving an example where the money came from and how easy it is to pay the crossing guards and how hard it was to pay somebody from some big organization who we were buying trophies for and everything else. Okay?
Madam
No,
President.
I'm ahead, but I'm not the one going back.
We gotta try to move this meeting along. We gotta try to move it along.
Yeah, I know. One real short thing. Can I address Ms. Brown? Tuesday night, I was coming home from Taylor Hospital. Me and my wife. My aunt's in the hospital out there. And it was around 8 o'clock. I'm coming over the bridge to 4th and Pine. There's a gentleman in the audience here who I won't name. One of our residents had 2 dogs, and he flagged me down because it was a dog confrontation with a pit bull and his 2 dogs. Me and my wife stopped the car, I put my flashes on, I got out of the car, and I called 911 and the animal control officers because I didn't want 3 dogs fighting. This was 8 o'clock at night, I was on my way home, right? The cops were tied up on another call, they had a traffic detail. They came as soon as they can, it was like 10 minutes. And I stood there and I got these, me and my wife and this resident who's in the audience right now, got this situation under control. And the cop came there as quick as he can, he was very professional, he did his job, and everything was rectified with no problem. Because if there's a problem in this town, I'll get involved in it. Because we were on the way home, like I said, we were at Taylor Hospital, and that's just a personal experience. That's all I want to add to Miss Brown. You know, the cops get there as soon as they can.
Ms. Brown, you have anything else for council?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kim.
Answer. I stood out in the cold with you to make sure you got in. Paula didn't. I call you, no answer. Paula call you, we know she answered you. You answer her. What is you here for to do for the borough? Yes. What are you here to do?
The right thing.
Well, I'm here to do what you put on the table for me to do, or you can give a chance. Now we're here to discuss something, you're bringing up this and that and other story that we can't even understand. So I say, I'm here to do my best, but you have to give me a chance.
Great thing for the borough. That's what our team's about.
Well, what should I say? Because every time I say something, Paula, you want to say something.
Come on. That's
Kim's
enough.
hard on
Madam
me.
President, just for the record, I just want to justify
Thank you,
the
Kim.
salaries of 11 crossing guards. Like it was discussed, there was Rochelle Bilau's salary, there was Wanda Davis's salary, who was never officially hired by council, whom she was paid $17 and some cents an hour. And there was also the salaries of Wendell Reed, who made $101,000 in 1 year. In 1 year.
There, Fred.
Parham, Jade Hayes, all accumulated enormous amounts of overtime, more hours in 2 weeks than there are available in 2 weeks.
Old council did take.
So there was over $300,000 that was saved this year just in those salaries that could very well afford the measly $9.35 an hour salary for the safety of the children. As far as the budget goes,
Kids.
from my review of prior budgets from 2007 to the present, in the last 6 years, there has not been one true and accurate budget. Because you have to, and you'll see with this year's budget. Now, the budget that we submitted last year was just what we could gather from what we could find. But in order to effectively create a budget, you have to have working actual expenditures. And there were no actual expenditures in last year's budget. So, and that announcement was made when that budget was pushed through, that this was just a paper budget from what we could find in the office. This year, you'll have an accurate accounting. So the money is there for 11 crossing guards. And I think, and as far as the $23,000 goes, that bill was submitted to the school district for the entire year, and the school district had asked us to submit.
Ms. Brown, can you shorten that up because we're never going to get through
Okay,
it.
the school district wants us to submit on a quarterly basis, not a yearly basis. So that figure is accurate.
Okay, you keep going back to this Wendell Reed. When the budget was made up, Wendell Reed was no longer working here. He left here in February, did he not? So his salary wasn't in that, so don't even put that number in there anymore, okay? Watch your mouth. Because he said the F word. Get it on YouTube. Yes, you just did.
Yes, you did, Paul.
Yes, you did, Paul.